All right, we are live. This is going to be a chill day today because I got whacked with an allergy thing yesterday. I could not stop sneezing yesterday. And today I'm feeling better, but I'm just a little run down today, so we're going to take it easy. But what we're going to do is start playing with a new device. And what's exciting about this one is that this is a brand new ARM-based laptop from Lenovo. And this is running Windows 11. So we haven't seen a Windows 11 ARM-based laptop before, nor have we seen a 3CX ARM-based laptop before either. So this is like a new, my camera's out of focus here. I just got to turn the autofocus. I had autofocus off for something, so let me turn autofocus back on so that I don't keep having to deal with that. And so this is a 3CX Snapdragon, which they say is faster than any of the other Snapdragons that they've come up with. So we'll see about that. So we're going to unbox this in a minute. Joe Tyson is here. This is on loan from Lenovo, by the way. John Smith says, yeah, you know, ARM has been a Windows thing for a couple of years now. We've been covering it. But it hasn't been good. It's not like Apple's ARM as far as compatibility is concerned. So if you stick to the Microsoft ecosystem, everything's great. But once you go outside of that, so we'll see if this is getting better. But I think it's important to look at, again, like I mentioned earlier this week, the market that it's in. Joe Tyson is here. John Smith is here. Romerick is here. Hello there. Christoph Howard is here. Thanks for stopping by. Joe Tyson recently purchased the Acer Swift 3 with the 12th generation. That's a good deal. Yeah, you'll be happy with that. That'll keep you going. That's going to be great. Yeah, the big thing on this one is going to be battery life. This thing will go forever. I think they have a terabyte option. This one, let's see what this one has on board. I don't think it says the storage on it. We'll find out when we boot it up. I'm pretty sure you can get like your standard storage on this one, as far as the options are concerned. William Wilkinson is here, and David Langley is here. Yeah, so let's take it out of the box and see what we got here. Feels pretty lightweight, and this is a ThinkPad, so it's going to look like a ThinkPad. Ooh, it looks cool. And we saw this back in March when we were at their preview event. And I'll see if I can get some specs on it. So here's the laptop. I'll give you the overhead view so you can get a feel for what it looks like. Let me zoom out a little bit here. So that's what it looks like. Let's take a, ooh. Oh, it's not as well balanced as I thought it was going to be. Usually these ThinkPads are very well balanced, not this one. But it looks cool, doesn't it? Here, let me get the camera angle down. It feels very lightweight. I don't think this is metal, or if it is, it's some kind of funky lightweight metal, like a magnesium or something. But it's got, I think, a 16:10 display. I should look up the specs on this before people start asking. Ugh. Hi, Gino. Thanks for coming by. And there is a whole, there's been a whole effort to get ARM inside of Microsoft running. And this is like, now I think we're in like the 3rd generation of these ARM laptops now. And it's chilly cold. Now what's cold in South Africa? I heard it's like, cold is like in the 50s. Am I right? And I don't think you're going to add much to this one. These things are kind of appliances. There's some dust on it. It came with the dust. Must have been like some packaging that they... So a lot of times when they get these things set up, they they get a little dust on them. All right, let me get, this is the power supply, by the way. And let me get the plug out for it. Oh, it's missing the thing. All right, you know what we'll do is, it has a 65-watt power supply, but I've already got my Apple one down here, so we'll just commit an act of sacrilege and just plug the Apple power supply in. And looks like there is only ports on the left-hand side. So I'll get the specs, but I think these are just USB 3 USB-C ports. But it's super lightweight. I think this is like 2.5 pounds. This comes in around the weight of the Carbon, but it has much greater battery life. And it doesn't feel like metal. I think it's plastic. And I think it's a 16 by 10 is what it looks like to me. All right, let's see here. Let me pull up the specs on it. We're going to be a little low energy today. I'm just getting over some allergy attack I had yesterday. We have stuff blooming here in my home state of Connecticut. So I have been, I kid you not, I was sneezing all day yesterday. I took medicine, I did everything, couldn't shake it. But it wasn't COVID, I tested. You get free tests still if you have, with your health insurance here, so I got a bunch. I'm still good. All right, so this is gonna load up here. And here are the specs. 16 by 10, 13.3. Let's see if I can paste this whole thing in and have that. Can I put that much text in? I can. All right, so let me clean this up a bit. So this has got Snapdragon 8CX Gen 3. I'm just going to clean up the specs here and then put them in the chat. So 16 by 10. It supports millimeter wave 5G. And I don't know what it has for storage, so let's take a look at that. I'm not digging the trackpad. This has a terabyte. And RAM, let's see if we can get a readout on the RAM. The RAM is 16 gigabytes. And I'm going to just put this as a pinned message so that everybody knows what we got here. And let's see, lots of questions today. Zarif is joining us. Oh, hi, Gino. Nice looking thin. Yes, it is a thin laptop. It is pretty nice. Zarif is here from Bangladesh. Welcome. Hopefully I'm coming in okay over there. And it looks like, yeah, Windows 11 can run the 64-bit apps on the shipping OS, which is something that the Windows 10 required you to get into like the beta loop on. So yeah, so here we are. And why don't we, let me look at one more thing on the spec sheet here. They usually send me like this little sheet with everything. These are USB-C 3.2 Gen 2, so these are not USB 4 ports. And the memory, I don't believe is upgradable, but I will double check on that. But the battery on this thing should last forever. And oh, this one's got a cellular modem installed too. I should take this down. I got to go find a millimeter wave hotspot because it's got AT&T internet access. I'm actually picking it up here in the basement. How about that? But I'm going to connect it to my Wi-Fi. So this is on loan from them, so I don't get a free service. But I should pull the SIM card and try it on a bunch of stuff, right? Let me get it on my local network here. And we'll try some stuff out with it. Now, what I'm curious about is a couple of things. Because I have a Game Pass account, so I'm wondering if it'll work with that. All right, so we're up and running there. And 1 second. I'm running an amateur radio experiment on the other computer over there, so I'm just checking to see if anything has come in yet. I am very limited in the bands in which I can transmit as an amateur right now with a technician license, so I'm trying to get as much as I can out of the 10-meter band. Not having much luck yet. Here, I'll give you the overhead. That's what the keyboard looks like. It is a touch display too, but it's not a 2-in-1, so it only goes about this far. I'll tell you what, it's very lightweight. As far as build quality goes, it's probably not among, and I'm actually disappointed in saying this, it's not among my favorite first impressions I've had from a ThinkPad. It doesn't feel as ThinkPad-y in its build. I don't think it's metal. I'll have to check and see for sure on that. All right, so let's put some stuff on it. Now, I don't think there is an ARM version of Chrome yet, am I correct? Or even Chromium? Oh, there is an unofficial Brave browser. Let's see, I'm going to take a look at Brave's website. If not, we're going to run our benchmark on Edge just to see what we get there. What is the sleep to wake time? Why don't we find out? All right, so I'll put it to sleep. Okay, it's sleeping. And now we'll wake it up. I think it's sleeping. All right, ready? That was pretty quick. I don't have the password set up on it yet. All right, there we go. Okay, so let me close this out. Is the touchpad glass or Mylar? I think it's just plastic. I'm not sure. It feels very springy. And it's got Wi-Fi 6E. Although I just have a lowly Wi-Fi 6 access point. It's time to get another one. Adam Louse is here. How are things going with my ham? Good, pretty good. I was at the ARRL headquarters on Tuesday. I actually left the house. So Jake and I went up there. We ended up, I think the video might end up being in 2 parts because there was so much to see. And if you're into amateur radio, you're going to love it, I think, because there's a lot that we looked at. We looked at, you know, the main memorial station that they have there, Whiskey Alpha 1 Whiskey. So we did a DXCQ from there, QSO, to Poland, to Warsaw, Poland. We looked at, you know, some of the data modes they were doing. We got a whole tour of everything. It was really cool. And then we got kind of a glimpse of what, you know, they kind of envisioned the future of ham radio to be to some degree. Because they have these radios now that you can just put in a rack and log into remotely. It's not even like remote desktop. It's like you can log into the radio itself remotely and run all your software on it. It's pretty cool, including your audio stuff. Mara Trunks is here. Hello there. And Mr. Beast just got to 100 million subs. Funny story about Mr. Beast. I have no direct connection with him. But this guy that I know in town, I think his son is actually one of Mr. Beast's like business guys. Like he's been partnered, or not partnered, but working for him since the beginning, which was kind of fun. But it's nice. Yeah, this is going to be, this thing is going to be, I think, great for the executives that, like, just like the X1 Carbon, you know, where this one's going to fall in is when you want a Windows laptop that just goes forever, because that's what this is going to be about. But it's going to be limited in the sense that you can't do everything on it. But let's see. You know, let's do this first. You know, it's one of these things where I don't know where to start on these. But maybe we'll grab Geekbench, because I think there's an ARM version of Geekbench available. Because I have benchmarked the other ones. So it would be fun to see out of the box, like, how does this one compare? And I think there is an ARM version. Let's see, I'm pretty sure there was an ARM version of this. Let's see, Geekbench ARM Windows. I'm going to go probably end up at, I guess not, huh? What did I use to test these? I'm the Brown. Good evening or good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. So the price on these, I think, starts at around $1,300. I've got a link in the description to Lenovo's website, so you can see there's a bunch of different, obviously with everything, a bunch of different configuration options. But this one has a, I think they all have the same processor. It's just a matter of storage and RAM. I could have sworn there was an ARM version of Geekbench for Windows. Maybe one of you can tell me that. You're all about 30 seconds behind with the way this 4K streaming thing works. Go down here and see if there's a... I'll tell you what, though, it feels pretty snappy. Yeah, I don't know if this is the Windows version or not. Let's see what it ends up running with here. So I'm trying to find, like, I always like to start with the context of, like, where does the performance curve on this? And I don't like spending a lot of time on benchmarks, but what's nice about them is that if you run them enough, you can figure out exactly where your thing falls into line. All right, so, oh, this does recognize it as an ARM processor, so I think we've got the native version. Let's find out, actually. It'll tell us, won't it? More details. Doesn't it tell you, like, what, whether it's ARM or not? Yep, it is ARM. Okay, good. So Geekbench 5, if you download the Windows version, it will install the ARM version. Perfect. All right, so let's do the, yeah, you only get the CPU benchmark on this. It doesn't do the GPU one. Because I know I've run this before. And this is one of the issues that, like, I don't get why, like, we're not seeing lower priced ARM devices. They're all coming in high. We saw that from HP earlier with the other one we looked at recently. So I did do a video on Chrome OS Flex a little while ago. Today is the day it's been fully released. So it is now available to everybody. And I got to think about how to do this. If I don't get a lot of requests for mic testing, but maybe I can figure out some way to incorporate it. And let's see what happens here. You know, to some degree, this is a good question from Dizzy here. Like, at this price, would you consider a M2 MacBook Air? You can't get one. I still have one on back order. Maybe they have them at the Apple Store I can go find. But, you know, I think the fact that these Macs don't run Windows easily now actually makes these Windows devices more attractive again, right? So the whole deal with this one is lightweight, fanless, and battery life. That is it. And we've talked about this many times. If you want battery life thin and light, you pay for it. And that's the price here. But I haven't tried the new MacBook, but I would say that the build quality does not quite feel as good as the Mac does. It feels pretty light. And not in a, I mean, they're both light, but I think this is plastic. I have to double check and see what the materials are. All right, let's see what we got here. And if you go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, you can see my spreadsheet that I keep of everything. And I have a Geekbench section on the lower portion here. So we have tested previously the HP Elite Folio and the Galaxy Book Go. Both are Snapdragon devices. Now, so this is interesting. So the HP Elite Folio, again, this is just one benchmark, but the Elite Folio had the second generation chip. This one has the third generation of the 8CX. And in completing this test, as you can see, we got a score of 1120, which is a bit of a bump over the prior version. And this is a Snapdragon 8CX Gen 3. And so the prior edition chip scored 801 on the single core, 3139 on the multi-core. This one got 5869. But these don't run the compute test, which is the GPU test. So on this one, you know, it's probably about 30% faster maybe. But its single core performance still lags behind the M1. And the M1 test, of course, runs native ARM as well. But it is fanless. It's totally silent. Is there an ARM Cinebench available? I could take a look at it. And yeah, I looked at that, the Dizzy, right? We reviewed the Galaxy Book. And there was like nothing inside of it, right? It was like a battery and like a single chip. And Canol says here that the result is very close to a 4800 CPU. Interesting. Single core is a little better. But the compatibility is going to be better on that Ryzen, right? So it's a matter of functionality versus or battery life versus utility, I guess. And Eric says that he would buy if I would not be a gamer, I would get a Mac as well. Yeah, that's the one problem with the Macs. They do have some games, but there's not many. Although No Man's Sky, I guess, is getting ported over to it. And I think if they're going to port it to Mac for ARM, you'll probably see it show up in the Windows Store in short order as well. All right, so that's interesting on the benchmark. Let me just record this. I'm going to create a Google Doc here for my review. Because if I can, I'm going to try to record this tomorrow. So I was very eager to get this one in. So back in March, I went to New York City and had a preview. We did a preview event with this. And this was like the one that really stood out for a lot of viewers, which was like, oh wow, this is really cool. Because it looks cool, it's thin and light, it's got great battery life. And you know, like if you just live in Microsoft Office, like there's a good, you know, you've got a good reason to look at something like this. But the MacBook Air is still better performing. And I'll have to take this somewhere. I think I've got a ultra wideband stuff around town. I'll take a look and see if I can find it somewhere. By the way, the single core, yeah, so the i7s are obviously much quicker. All right, put that in there. Okay. And let me see if I can find my gaming disk. Ah, here it is. Pop this in. I'm a little low energy today, everybody, so just be aware of that. And yeah, I guess you could use this for programming. You know, I don't do much programming, so I can't give a good assessment as to how it would perform, but I think it would probably be fine for that, you know, provided you understand you don't have an Intel chip to do your bug testing on, right? The wattage on, that's a good question on the ARM processor. Let me see if it tells me that in their spec sheet here. I don't think it tells me. Let's see, Snapdragon 8CX. Let's see if we can figure that out. I'm just looking here to see if I can find any info on the wattage. Android Authority says this is the highest performing chip per watt. But I don't have the exact wattage on it, so I'll have to look and see if I can find that. And I don't believe there is a Wildlife ARM version for Windows. There is obviously an ARM version on phones for Android, but I don't know if we have, and actually I think we might be able to run Android apps on here. All right, so let's go. I'm just curious if Steam will even install on this. Actually, let me look at one other thing. Let's see if there's a 3D Mark. So 3D Mark Wildlife Benchmark. Oh, it does have, okay, so it looks like there is a version. So how do we get that version? Because I have, okay, it's available as a free update, and So I don't know if the one that we have on this machine is going to load the ARM version or not, but we can find out, won't we? Because I have it on Steam right now. All right, let me log into my Steam account. So you can install, any X86 and now X64 app on here. Whether or not it runs is another story. So that's something we'll explore here a little bit and see what we get. I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to load Steam's library up here, but whether or not we can do anything with the games that we have on the hard drive is another story. But as you can see here, we're able to. This is running Intel software right now to install this thing. All right, let's see what we get. We've found in the past that it can play light games, but it's iffy. And it's been, in the past we could only run beta stuff, so we'll have to see what happens there. Code Venom Snakes is here. Hello there. And yes, I believe it can output to multiple displays. We'll check that out. That'll be part of the question mark I will put on for some of the other stuff I'll do later. It does have 2 USB Type-C ports on it. But I will check that. I'm pretty sure it does. So you'll have to tune in for the full review on that one. Code Venom wants to know, what is the point of an ARM CPU? Battery life, battery life, battery life. So that is all that's what you buy the ARM one for. It's all about battery life. And so, and I think that's why this is a ThinkPad and not a ThinkBook, because I think they see the opportunity for this in the business environment where, the boss is running Microsoft Office all day long and sitting in Outlook and doesn't, is always complaining about his or her battery life on the laptop constantly dying. This thing's going to run the entire 365 ecosystem without a complaint. You know what I mean? And whatever custom business application they may have, it's going to run on it. And it's going to run okay for those things because you're not playing games on it. What we're going to do here is we're going to push its envelope beyond, I think, what it's designed for, but that's part of what we like to do, or any reviewer likes to do for that matter, right? Because I want to see what's improved. Because one of the big issues, and I think one of the things that Apple has kind of set an expectation for, is that on the Mac, if you have an ARM Mac, everything just works. You just load it up, Intel, whatever, it doesn't matter. It just loads up and works. ARM on Windows has been very difficult. It should be better now with Windows 11 because the X64 emulation is built in, but it remains to be seen how this will perform overall. But we will get to the bottom of that. And I think they had enabled that. And I'm not sure what you mean by stealing the computer. I think it's the same kinds of phoning home that Windows has always been doing since Windows 10. But yeah, that's, by the way, also no fan on this one. And actually, for the performance you will get out of this machine running Office applications is going to be similar to what you would have on an Intel chip with a fan. Mark is wondering battery life. They said this thing will go for like 24 hours. And, you know, it's always like dependent on what you're doing with it. But I think by far the battery life will be much better than what we saw out of the X1 Carbon we looked at the other day. And the price difference is, this one is priced around the same as what you would pay for one of their lightweight Intel laptops, give or take. But the compatibility is far less. And that's kind of the, you know, it's, on a Mac, I think Apple did it exceptionally well. And part of it is that Apple doesn't support legacy. And Microsoft has to, because they have such a large install base of legacy code that they just have to support. Apple just throws it out every couple of years. So the Apple machines just run everything, right? Whereas this one will challenge more. And Nihar wants to know if the Gen 3 will catch up. I don't even know if performance has been the issue so much as compatibility has been. At least that's my take on it. But I think they're hoping that this will finally catch fire. But it's still running behind the M1. But this might actually get better battery life than an M1. And Greg M is here and points out that, yeah, Windows on ARM before 11 was a train wreck. It certainly was, wasn't it? And I don't know if it's going to be much better with 11. And I'm purposely not running the beta because I'm going to run, you know, the out-of-the-box Windows 11 ARM experience. But I'm hoping this finally integrates all the stuff, right? And I'm not sure. It depends if my 3D Mark things will work on here. But honestly, like, again, this comes back to this discussion I had on the weekly wrap-up this week, is that, you know, when you look at the X1 Carbon, which does thermal throttle, it's not designed to be a machine that gets pushed as hard as reviewers push it, right? And it's not an enthusiast machine. This one certainly isn't either. We'll certainly look at it if we can run the benchmark, but what I'm uncertain about is whether or not this one is going to actually even be able to run these benchmarks. Typically, it just crashes on me. And the other question is, will it download the ARM version of the wildlife benchmark, which apparently exists? And I'll answer this question. I'm going to answer this every time. Battery life, battery life, battery life. Yeah, I know they have certain specifications. I don't know if there was a specific thing or not, but I will look into that. All right, so let's take a look and just see what version it's running here. So I'm curious to see if this is running. Yes, it looks like there is a X32 architecture. This is just for the thing that's opened up here. But let's see if yeah, these are all X64. So I don't know if it's going to run. We'll run it and see what happens. So I'm going to start with the extreme benchmark. I usually like to start with the other one, but we'll see how this one does. I doubt this is even going to load. But I'll be, you know, sometimes you can be surprised. Because in the past, we could never get these things running on an ARM machine. I think the storage might be. I don't think the RAM is upgradable. Yeah, and I think what we've got on the Windows side is a real chicken and egg problem, in that we are getting, by the way, farther than we've ever gotten before with these. This is actually a good sign for Windows 11 compatibility. Hey, this is actually not so bad. I mean, this is the extreme test, by the way. So this is running at currently around 15 frames per second, but this is the extreme version, so I wouldn't expect this to run super fast. But it's actually working. Again, what I'm not certain about is whether or not we're running the Intel version or the ARM version. So I'll have to run it again and then look at the whatchamacallit to see what it's got on there. And I forgot to turn the demo off. And yeah, that's kind of the thing, right? Is to see how we end up with this. Bear with me here for 1 second, folks. I just want to check and see if I've gotten approved for an upcoming media event. A friend of mine just got his email. And I've been approved. Awesome. So, folks, I need to RSVP for this, but I just got approved to attend the Artemis launch at NASA. I'm excited. That's going to be great. And it looks like they've got us really far away at the Space Force station. That's interesting. Let me, I don't know if I've been downgraded or what. Well, let me find out from my buddy here. I think they probably are moving us farther away because of the danger involved with this thing. All right. So it looks like August 29th. Hopefully I'm around. Yeah, I can do it. All right, I gotta talk to my wife about this. Okay, here we go. Wildlife Extreme. That's gonna be, I'm excited. Ali wants to know, but first of all, thank you for the super chat. Can Linux be installed on it? At the moment, I don't believe so. I will find out for the review if that is the case or not, but I'm pretty sure these Windows ones are locked down. And I see a couple of other questions about that also. Let me see. ThinkPad, X13s Linux. I'll ask the Lenovo people. There is a mega thread up on Reddit about this. And okay, so yep, there's kernel work being done. There you go. So I think it is going to be possible. But at the moment, no one has been able to get it working yet. All right, let's see here. Yes, I have a feeling with the Artemis launch, so just in case my fellow space nuts are out there, I think they're putting us at the Space Force station because there's a lot of propellant in that rocket, and I don't think they want us. There was some rumor about how powerful it was, and they didn't want people that close to it. So you're 3 miles away at the press site. I think you're like 4 or 5 miles away at the Space Force station. And I'm guessing that's where they're sticking everybody, because I have a feeling that thing's going to be get a little bit more of a punch. All right, so that's going to be a fun, fun project there. Okay, let me go. Oh boy, I'm so excited. All right, so we have our results here. Let me go over to my my 3D Mark Wildlife thing here. Now, by the way, you can go to Lon.TV/benchmarks and see what I've got here. So, you know, this performance may not be all that bad. And this was running DirectX 12. So let me go in and start putting this in real quick. So Lon.TV/benchmarks if you want to see what we've got here. And so right now, this is close to what I was seeing out of my Surface Laptop Go 2, which weighs about the same. Yeah, it's almost right on the money with a 11th generation G7 Iris CPU, but the battery life on this one will be like 3 days worth of the other one. Because the other one, I think out of that Surface laptop, I get like 6 hours of battery life, if that. This thing, I think, would do much better. And when I say like 6 or 7 hours, I mean like not running anything like we just ran here. So, all right, so right now we're on the 3D Mark Wildlife benchmark. And I'm going to go back and run the regular wildlife test here. Let's go to benchmarks. Oh, it's interesting. So it's unable to run the regular one, but it did run the more advanced test. And it's saying here the reason that this one doesn't run is that the Vulkan API is required, although the Extreme apparently works with DirectX 12. Yeah. Aha. So there is an actual ARM version of the benchmark, which is why it ran here. So I'm going to run this one with the off-screen one because that's how I run all of them. But on this initial run-through here, comparably, so let's look at some comparatives. The Apple M1 in the iPad Air, the 2022 version, scored 4,740, so it came in about 10 FPS higher than what we just saw out of this one. But if you were curious, it doesn't look like Vulkan works on this thing, so if there's a game that you're running with Vulkan, that's going to impact it. All right, we're going to let this run through here. And this one looks different than the last one because it's running this off screen so that it can just render off the GPU without having to wait for the display. So this is how I run it all the time typically. All right, let this finish up here. And I'm having a great day today. It's always good when I get invited to go to a rocket launch. And so this one, they plan this one is going to go to the moon, but it's capable of Mars with enough launches. So that'll be fun. All right. Yeah, and George, I think what Apple did is they really worked on compatibility. And again, we got we got the identical score, didn't we? They really focused on compatibility on the M1 side. And I think that makes all the difference here. All right, this is... One second. All right, there we go. So let's do ThinkPad X13s. This is a Snapdragon. And by the way, these NASA trips don't make me any money, but they're a lot of fun to cover for the viewership. And I know a lot of you are into this stuff, so it's always fun to do the work and enjoy it, and then you know, be able to. All right. There we go. So let's put NA in here because we're going to have a graphic that'll compare everything. Okay. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so let's see what else we can do on this thing. You know what else I'm going to do is I'm going to run the browserbench.org speedometer test, and then we'll come back and try a game out or two. What do you say? But performance is pretty good on this. If there's games that were designed for it, I think it'd be great. Now, ARM games on Game Pass. I'm just curious if there's any ARM games on Game Pass. And it looks like all right, let me go back over to give me one more second here, folks. I'm multitasking real quick here. I'm trying to do some logistics on something here. Okay, so now, all right, I'm back to you all now. Sorry, I've got 2 million things coming in at the same time here. Yes, so my understanding is that there is supposedly Android support somewhere in here. Let me look that up real quick. How to run Windows 11 apps. Oh, that's right. So it does run Android apps, but you have to install the Amazon App Store, I think. As long as you meet Microsoft Supreme. Run Android, you must install Windows, the Windows subsystem for Android and the Amazon App Store, and your PC must pass a certain threshold. Once you have everything in place, Android apps will work. Boy, that's a complicated thing. So how do we do it? All right, update, yada, yada. Okay, so let's go into the store here and see if the Amazon. So you don't download the Google Android apps, you download the Amazon Android apps. How about that? And you download the Amazon store. Yep, here it is. So you download the Amazon App Store from the Windows App Store. Gotta love it. All right, let me put my credentials in here. And the question is, which version of the Android app do you get? Do you get the ARM one or do you get the other one? That's a whole other question. All right, bear with me here, folks. I just got to get my passwords situated here. And my code. Let's take a look here. So now we'll go to Microsoft. Oops. Okay. See, you know, I have a conundrum. The conundrum is I spent all day yesterday sneezing my head off because of, I get like seasonal allergies right around this time of the year from whatever grows here in Connecticut, right? So my choices are suffer or take allergy medication that makes me like not so with it. And so now, like my wife tells me, take it, like take this at this time, right? She gets me into the regimen. So I take everything, and I'm foggy. You know, I'm not like, you know, like that, but I'm not like with it today. And so like I can't win. All right, so now we've got, by the way, this is a touch display. All right, so help improve. Yeah, there's no Google Play on this. And so now we have to install the Windows subsystem for Android. And then it's going to download this, and then I think we can get some of those apps on here, because that might be a fun thing to explore. So I'll add that to my notes here. And I guess this works on Intel devices too. This might actually warrant its own video, perhaps, because I could use that Surface Book to kind of test it, because most people are not going to be using these devices. All right, so we're getting going in there. All right, next, and then we got to restart the PC. So now you can see how fast it boots. And yes, you can game stream Xbox games on it, no problem. And with somebody, I don't know if any of my moderators are in, but it looks like we have been blessed with a scammer or spammer. I don't even know what he's talking about. But we'll get rid of him. All right, so let this thing boot back up here. It's taking a little bit longer to load. Oh, this is the, there we go. Look at that guy. All right, so now we are back. And I believe my Amazon App Store should show up in here somewhere. Amazon App Store. I don't see it yet. We have to re-download it. Let's see. And I'll say, just poking around the OS here, it feels, it doesn't feel as zippy as like a high-end Intel device, but I don't know if that's going to bother people that are. Oh, here we go. And David Bound is joining us. Yeah, it is a bit humid out today. But welcome. And yeah, I think if you're going to spam, you might as well try to be convincing about it. Maybe there's was that crypto or something? Maybe that's what he's been hawking there. All right, so I'm an Amazon customer. By the way, I found my printer. You see that? So let me sign in with my, oh, you know what? I got this crazy Amazon password. All right, let me just do it and get it over with. Bear with me, folks. Amazon. Yeah, so it's a nice little machine. I think the big thing will be, I think this will be very popular in the enterprise because it'll run Microsoft Office stuff just fine, and that's going to be fine for the boss. And if the boss doesn't have to charge it every, the boss will be getting complaints about, oh, it's not charging or whatever, or the battery's dying. this thing is going to get them through that. I mean, you're not going to have the battery issues that you would have on a bigger machine. But I will, I should give this to my dad for a day to use and see if he, hang on one second. So I got two-factor going here too. Oh, wrong one. I have two Amazon accounts, and so this is the right one. Okay, there we go. And they call this an App Store preview. So I have stuff already. So where are my existing games? Do I have? So there's some interesting things that you could think about here. So my apps, let's go A to Z. Yeah, that's all they've got. Because I have a bunch of other apps that I've purchased from Amazon that are not on the list. So it looks like you're limited. I don't know if you can sideload Android apps on here, though. Can you? Is that doable? You all can tell me. Keyboard G is here. Good vibes to you, my friend. Cybernetics is here. Hello, my tech friends. Hello to you, my tech friend. Ooh, you had a good day today. I could go for some barbecue. I love barbecue. Yeah, there's nothing in here that's really... Let's see what we have for games. I always feel like these free games are a misnomer, right? It's like, it's free, but... Yeah, I'm going to look and see if there's a way to sideload Android apps on Windows. Let's see. How to sideload Android apps on Windows 11. The bad news is sideloading on Windows not straightforward. You need to, oh geez, the ADB and the whole, all right, we'll come back to that too. Nothing's easy. All right. Okay. Yeah, right, free unless you want to do anything. You want to have a chance at winning the game. And Keyboard G says if you're going to Lenovo today, I got a link in the video description. There's Think Big Deals to get you 30 to 50% off. So get shopping. Yeah, we're not on Amazon today because this is not being sold on Amazon, so I didn't think it would be very relevant to that audience. All right, so let me log back into Steam and let's try our luck at because I have a bunch of games already pre-installed on this drive. So let's see if we can get Red Dead. It's not going to run, but let's see if we can get Red Dead Redemption 2 to run. You know, let's try. Why don't we try No Man's Sky first and see if that boots up? I doubt it's going to, but it's worth a shot. There's an update required. Is it downloading the update right now? It is not, so let's do the download here. And I'm on my Wi-Fi 6 here, so it shouldn't take too long. Is there a VLC for Windows ARM? That is a good question. I will look that up. VLC says it runs on both ARM and x86 devices, and it's available on the Windows Store. I think they charge you for it on the Windows Store as a donation, but let me see. No, they don't. Or I'd already bought it. And, you know, sometimes some of these apps I'd almost prefer to get them on the Windows Store because you know that it's a legit version, right? Sometimes these things get hacked or whatever, and it becomes a whole big to do. All right, let's see what we get on this one. Yes, I apologize, I'm a little low energy today. I'm getting over a allergy thing yesterday. Yes, as soon as my M2 Air shows up, I ordered one from B&H I probably should have ordered it from Apple, but B&H I don't have to pay the sales tax. I have that credit card that gives me the sales tax off. And what I did is I bought the one with the faster GPU just to see what that one was going to look like. As it turns out, my wife is going to end up with it, and I'm getting hers back, which was mine to begin with. Long story. But yes, I am going to review it when it shows up. All right, so VLC is installed. Let's see if it runs as an ARM app or as an Intel app. All right, let's take a look here. So let's go into our device manager. And what time is it? It's 4 o'clock already. Yeah, I'll stick around for another half hour, 45 minutes or so. We haven't really accomplished all that much yet, have we? I've just been clicking around trying to figure out what's going on here. Go to details. Okay, there we go. Details is what I need to be looking at. This is running, oh, interesting. So this one, which we downloaded from the App Store, is running in the Intel version. So, and actually what they're doing is they're paying the sales tax on B&H. They pay the sales tax, but the credit card gives it back to you as a bonus, like points. So you get an immediate sales tax. So for me in Connecticut, I get an immediate 6.35% back, which equals the sales tax. So I'm buying a lot there sometimes because, especially for things that I review, I'm going to end up reselling anyhow. This does not replace the X1 Nano. In fact, if you look on this is what I love about the YouTube algorithm, is that it never delivers things to people. So we just reviewed the X1 Carbon Gen 10 with the 12th generation Intel chip. It's on my channel right now. So there is an X1 Carbon, although I would expect over time that as compatibility increases, they'll probably move away, they'll probably move in that direction. All right. So yeah, so it downloaded it, but it did not get an ARM version. And that's the other thing. You never know what's like an ARM app versus not. And I guess the same can be said of Apple's approach to this, but yeah, and I guess it's a matter of whether or not there is an ARM version of VLC. Let me check their site and see if on the download page here if it could be that the Windows 10 store version is not ARM. Oh yeah, okay, so there is an ARM64 version on the download page on VLC's website, but the one on the store is the Intel version. Go figure. You would think the store would be where you get the right version, right? All right, so here's something that's not going to work, but we're going to try it anyhow. So this is a game, obviously, and I'm not even going to connect my controller because I know that it's not going to work. But we're going to try it anyhow because it's never worked in the past. However, Windows 11 now integrates the X64 compatibility. So we will give it the old college try, as I like to say. And the answer to this is yes, quite a bit of software not working. This will be one of the examples of that. Yes, just like Forrest Gump said. All right, so let's play it and watch how it doesn't work. But if it does work, at least based on the benchmark we saw, the compatibility of this should be close to the Intel Xe graphics. And here we go, Vulkan. Yeah, so anything that's Vulkan is not going to work, apparently. So we'll cancel that. We'll skip that one. Let's try something a little more down to earth here. Let's try Half-Life 2. And then we'll try Rocket League, because I think Rocket League might be DirectX 12. All right. All right, so let's get into load a game up here. And we'll just do our usual thing here. This actually runs okay. But this is an old game, right? Wow, actually, yeah, not bad. All right, so let's go load up our... yikes, I'm getting like... All right, let me see what the graphics are set to. So this is native resolution on high. Give me a minute here. I was going to record these settings. I don't think I can get a frame rate set pulled up here, but and the speakers are certainly loud on this sucker. Let's turn that down a bit. Gaming. Half-Life 2. Native res. Yeah, I'm just trying to see if I can get the frame rate up on screen. Yeah, this is a DirectX 9 game. I suspect that a lot of the DirectX stuff, and this is also a 32-bit game, so I think they're going to kill me before I can. These guys are very aggressive on the ARM version of the laptop here. Let me do a quick record here. Now, let me start that again. That was not a good example of good gameplay here. All right, so we're going to make a new folder. We're going to call this ThinkPad. But it can emulate an old Intel game pretty decently. And what's funny, for me, this game doesn't feel that old, but it is pretty old. All right, let's load the game up again here. Let's start this again. And yeah, probably have got a better mouse to play this with. You know, I'm committing an act of sacrilege playing this game with a trackpad, but it seems to be running okay, though, right? That's not too bad. All right. But it's an old game. So I would say the answer to this question is probably no if you're going to be a content creator, because I don't think there's going to be I'm pretty sure like the video editing apps you would use are not optimized for this processor. So I would look at a lower cost Intel. You can get a pretty decent 12th generation Intel machine. So we haven't tested battery life yet. That's going to be something I'll do over the course of the next day or two. But it's supposedly very good. And I will confirm that it's very good in the course of everything here. All right, let's take a look at, let's see if The Witcher 3 runs on this thing. So I guess what we need to find are like DirectX 12 games that can run, because No Man's Sky runs in Vulkan. But could The Witcher 3 run? Let's see. Yeah, I think, I have a feeling that the reason why we're not seeing a lot of mass consumer laptops is that manufacturers don't want to take the risk. And I think what we're going to see in the course of this review is that it might make a lot of sense. Actually loaded, how about that? It might make a lot of sense for an enterprise scenario. Let me get my controller out here. So, what's interesting is that we're getting stuff to load that has never loaded before. on ARM. So there's been some improvement here. You're still going to be limited by... I got to find a... Yeah, let's just get through it. We'll see if we can get far enough here. There you go. We put up our screen. All right, this is running at 720p, by the way. Actually, no, it isn't. I don't know what it's running at yet. Hang on a second. So in-game frame counter. This is lagging like big time. This trackpad, by the way, I'm not crazy about. I'm going to use the nub. Well, the game actually is loading. That's more than I expected. Holy mackerel. So, all right, here's a bit of a surprise. This is running at 20 frames per second right now. At what resolution? Let's take a look. We're at 1080p. All right, so let's go to 720p. And otherwise, we're going to keep everything on low settings here. So we're going to low settings, and we're going to go even lower by going to 720p. All right. So everybody, the game actually runs. This is the Intel game. How about that? We're just under 30 frames per second. And I suspect it's going to get a lot worse when we get over to these monsters here. Yeah, there you go. So it slows down dramatically when we get to that part. But no, we're hanging in. I'm playing with the tracking nub. Wow. Okay. So if you wanted to know, had things improved, the answer is yes. That's pretty cool. And it's definitely getting a little on the warmer side here, but you can certainly play this at a much better frame rate on a comparably priced Intel machine, right? So, you know, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. So, yeah, whatever happened to that Windows? Can you imagine how awesome a Windows phone would be now? I would totally be in a game for a Windows phone. Like, you could have it running one of these processors, you dock it, and that's what I wanted the iPhone to become. I said that to a friend of mine who works at Apple. I said, dude, he can never talk to me. He doesn't like to talk to me anymore because I always try to get stuff out of him. But I said to him, you don't have to answer, just blink. But he didn't blink. What I want is an iPhone with an M1 that when you dock it, it becomes a Mac. And whether you like dock it into a desktop or dock it into like slide it into something, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah, I don't have Cyberpunk. I should probably get that. It's going to be cheap soon, right? So, all right, let's go for the gusto here. Will this run? I doubt it, but let's see. Let's see what happens. No fan. No fan on this one, which means you'll probably get thermal throttling if I had a way to test it, which I don't think I will, but I'll check and see if there's some kind of performance benchmark that I can run. What was interesting was that on Steam, the the 3D Mark benchmark that I installed using Steam actually was able to run an ARM benchmark. So I think Steam will be ready for ARM games if they ever make one. And I think it might, although I think, does Red Dead Redemption 2 use Vulkan? If it's Vulkan, it's not going to work. I think that's the compatibility issue we have at the moment. But let's see. But if you're a gamer, there is no reason to buy this. Mark Smith is putting his bets in at 10 frames per second. I suspect if this does end up running, this will probably run at around 25 frames per second, although I don't think we're going to get a frame rate counter on here, but we'll see. And I'm basing that off of what we saw with with The Witcher 3 there a second ago. Ooh, I heard about this. SDR++, everybody, is a... I gotta take that image off it. What the heck is that in your freaking image? The SDR++ is an app for that RTL SDR dongle that I talk about a lot. But now it runs on Android, so you can turn your Android device into a shortwave radio. Ta-da! Your computer does not meet the... All right, I'm going to say yes. Your computer does not meet the minimum recommended video memory specification. I don't care. Let's just go. It's loading. We'll make some adjustments to the settings. Look at this, everybody. But yes, you're right. If you're living in the retro world, I think you'll have a good go with this. Is there a Windows ARM version of RetroArch? Let me look. There is something, yes. Let me go look it up real quick. There might be something to play with. But this is running. Excuse me. Wow, they've got versions of RetroArch that run on Windows 2000, ME, and 98 SE. Isn't that crazy? And there is a universal version, 64-bit. If I'm not mistaken, the UWP, well, that's for the Xbox. All right, so let's go and adjust some settings here. And we're going to go to graphics first. And we're going to go super low end. Okay, so it is 720p. We're going to go full screen. And the quality level we are going to set at the bare minimum. All right, so we are there. Okay, so now let me... It's not going full screen on us here, unfortunately. You know, I told it to go full screen. Screen type, full screen, 720p. It won't let me apply that setting for some reason. All right, I think we're at 720p still. Let me check again here. No, it's 1920. Let's go 1280 by 720. It will not let me set this, probably because of the video memory issue. All right, hang on. Let's go full screen, okay, texture quality, low. Low, 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 low. Everything's low. And I set the graphics preset level. Why is it putting everything on ultra when I said to set it on performance? That's weird. Something's funky with the... Oh, I see. So we can't change anything. because it's like, it's complaining about this. So I can't even turn it down to 720p because it's complaining about this. Your chosen graphics settings are currently using more memory. So I can't like override this even. Press Alt-Enter. Let's see. Yeah, it's not going to. There we go. Okay. But I can't change the. Laser just says they'd have RetroArch on MS-DOS if it weren't for the memory limitation. All right, so let's jump out and jump back in and see if that might get us somewhere here. Well, you know, we could just try to run it and just see if it even works at whatever this is set at. I doubt it's going to run very well at all. But why not? Let's just see what happens. I mean, the fact is that it boots up, which is not something we could do before, so that's good. All right, here we go, the moment of truth. It helps that it has 16 gigs of RAM on board too. It's definitely chewing on it. How's everybody doing today? Ouch. Yeah, it looks like there's definitely some Intel. You know, we're in a stagnated situation right now, and I think everyone overproduced. So you're going to see a lot of good deals coming up, folks. All those chips they ordered 2 years ago are finally getting delivered, and everyone's going to be overstocked with everything. Now, it's certainly taking a long time to load. And where are we at time-wise? Oh, we passed the 55-minute mark without it dropping. All right, we're almost there. All right, let's see. It might just load forever, to be honest. I'm not very confident we're going to see much after this thing gets to the end of the... This has got good music. Yeah, Mark Smith, you know what's happened is those Chromebooks are dirt cheap now because of all this. Oh, never mind. The music just looped. I bet you if we were able to get those settings turned down, this would probably run pretty decently. It just says, I think it shader cached itself to death. Well, that could be why. Okay, so maybe it'll load faster the next time after it does that, right? So let's see if I have a. Let's get that dust off the screen here. Yes, we don't have the images coming through anymore here. We might give a shot at the Game Pass games, although I've heard the Xbox app doesn't run very well on it. So game streaming might be the better outcome here. And I think I have a light on this drive. No, I don't. Well, it's not reading off the disk, so it's doing something in the background. Yes, this has built-in 5G. As a matter of fact, the review loaner I have here has a SIM card for AT&T installed on it. So I might run downtown. I think we have an ultra-wideband thing downtown, so I may try to head over there tomorrow and see how it works. And one of the nice things about streaming in 4K is you can actually read that now, right? There's detail that you never saw before here. Well, if you know where that INI file is located, I'm game for that. Yeah, load screen simulator. Yeah, I think I might kill this and see if we can figure out some way to adjust those settings down. Let's see here. I think I really upset it. Okay, so let's see. That was using about 6 gigabytes of RAM also. There's no number pad because there's no room for a number pad. It's just a little 13-inch laptop. But yeah, this is like a gaming device. Not a gaming device, what am I thinking? A business device. And actually, so they had a prior generation, they had a Yoga laptop, not a ThinkPad, but they had a Yoga laptop that had the LTE built in also for their ARM version. Oops, yep. I was thinking, hey, that display was moving pretty nicely there, but it was a false alarm. Okay, so is there a spot? Well, I'll tell you what. We're seeing much better compatibility in testing this so far. One of the best ways to test compatibility is to load up a game or two, and some of the games that never loaded before are loading on here. Vulkan does not appear to work, so No Man's Sky is out. I do have Doom Eternal on here. Let's see if we can get that to work. This one always complains about stuff. But let's try this real quick, and then we'll come back. Yeah, the keyboard's okay. It doesn't feel like a ThinkPad keyboard. It feels more yoga-ish to me. The travel is not very deep on this. And that's part of the allure of ThinkPads, of those nice deep travel keyboards. This one does not have that. And there you go. So that's not loading. So, but it looks like anything that depends on Vulkan is not loading, is basically what we're coming across here. So we can try the Xbox app and see what happens with that. Try a Game Pass game. I got plenty of storage on this machine, so I think we can do something with that. We got to go to the App Store. When is the laptop blowout going to be? I think Black Friday is going to be, you're going to have deals up the wazoo this year. There wasn't that many on Prime Day. I don't think everyone's got their stuff in yet, but Acer had a bunch of good deals, and I think you're going to see some holiday stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing deals for back to school, because that's an opportunity to kind of beat, to get their inventory cleared out before the end of the year. So Xbox, can I install Xbox? No. It will not even let me install the Xbox app. It's not compatible with your PC's processor, it says up here. And I have found actually a number of Windows laptops that do open. So whenever I have one on the desk that does open that way, I always talk about that. There are a bunch. Lenovo's got a few actually that will open with the single finger. So the webcam, I haven't tested the webcam yet. Why don't we do that? Because that'll give me an opportunity to get our webcam photo done. So let's go over to the camera. Oops, not the calculator. Let's do the camera. Ooh, the camera's nice. You know, one of the things with here, I'll take an image and then I'll feed it back through my system so you can see how it looks. But it looks nice. All right, so let me go to the specs here. I'm going to switch to video mode. And I'm going to go over to here. So it looks like it shoots at 1080p. And the quality, 1080p 30, at least out of this app. So it doesn't do 60. But it looks good. Actually looks very nice. All right, so I'm gonna take this image off and toss it to my vMix system, and I'll feed it right through so you can see what it looks like. So bear with me for a second here, folks. Yeah, so the key travel is not as deep as other ThinkPads, but it's deeper than the Yoga's is, if that makes sense. But I'm not crazy about the trackpad. The trackpad feels a little too springy for my liking, so I'm going to stick to the nub. They've got better trackpads. Oh, I just removed that thing completely. Gosh darn it. Let's go back to this PC, pictures, open a new window, camera roll. All right, so let's copy this over. Okay. All right, let's go and drag that file over from my NAS device here. The amount of power that my big production machine has at its disposal is pretty remarkable. This is an i9, and I'm running how many sources do I have right now? I've got 3 4K 30 sources going in, and it's just like, yeah, no problem. Okay, is that what I just recorded? Hang on. Yes, Thursday. Okay, so let's show you. Let me get rid of this other one because this one looks very similar, but it's not the same one. Okay, so this was done today. Yep, 4:45 p.m. So it looks a little dark, but it's not bad. It looks better than a lot of the other laptops I look at. So I'll roll in some B-roll here. Hang on. Stand by. It's coming in. It's coming in hot. When I took my wife to the hospital for our second child, I was rolling her in. We're coming in hot. That's what the webcam looks like. Not bad. Now play it again. Yes, I think there is a that is the case because they do a lot of that. They bring a lot of that smartphone image processing over here because it's part of what makes those chips do their thing. I love the Apple trackpads. I mean, they're great. They don't even move, and it feels like it. They really feel like their haptic feedback is so good. It feels like you're touching it. It's clicking, but it doesn't. So we'll talk about thermals in the full review. I have no way of really measuring them, unfortunately, so I can't run the benchmark. I'll check and see if the stress test runs on it. But I usually rely on the 3D Mark stress tests for the throttling measurements, and if I can't run that, it's going to be hard to discern that. But, and I don't think there's a shutter on this camera. Oops. Yeah, on front-facing cameras is an iconic look at this point. Yeah, my wave, is that what you're talking about? I am using a docking station. I like, there's one that's available. It's from Kensington, but also from Pluggable. That works with both Thunderbolt. It's expensive, but it works with both Thunderbolt and USB-C. If you go on my channel, you will see a whole Lon.TV/docs, I think it is. Yes. So there's actually, yeah, there's two that I recommend right now. The pluggable Thunderbolt and USB-C universal combo dock is great because it works with both Thunderbolt and USB-C computers. So if you have a USB-C now and get a Thunderbolt later, it works with both. There's a Kensington one that I use on my desk for Thunderbolt that's a hub, so I can plug in monitors, but also my 10 gig. I have like one port and I get two 4K displays, 10 gig Ethernet, everything comes right out of it. It's great. Let's see if I can run any of these stress tests on here. Oh, I can run the wildlife test, so I will do that. This takes a while to run, so I'm not going to do it right this second, but I'll run it for the review. So we will have, in the review, we'll have some discussion of thermals, at least insofar as throttling is concerned. And I would expect there will be some because it's not like smoking or melting down on my desk here, but it's definitely getting warm when you're pushing it. Michaels wants to know, do I have any merch? I do not have any merch, partly because I don't have the artistic ability to make any. So I would have some if I did. Yeah, there hasn't been much in the way of docking stations that have come out, but they're all expensive. And there's just no way to, they just cost what they cost. And by the way, the docking stations with headphone jacks never sound as good as what your computer is going to sound like, because they have their own USB audio card inside, and they're not good. So what I do on my desk is many monitors have a headphone jack, and that is just passing through the HDMI audio. That sounds much better. And I don't know the current price on the pluggable dock, but I have a link on that video, so if you click on it on the description, you'll see a link in Amazon. They'll give you the current price. But I don't have the price of it right now, unfortunately. Yeah, and that's a good point, Michael. Like, you can find some of these really cheap. So the reason why, so the Kensington dock that I'm using, and I actually bought a similar hub upstairs from OWC, is that I was able to get an extension of Thunderbolt ports, which on my MacBook Air was really helpful because it only has 2 ports. So I plug this dock in, and then I get basically an additional port. So you have 1 port occupied by the dock, but the dock gives you 3 ports. So you go from 1 to 3, and so you pick up a net 2, and I use that. Yeah, I only use laptops these days. So I don't have much time to game at the moment, but I have a gaming desktop upstairs that I built. I have essentially another gaming desktop down here that I also built, but that is only for live. It's my video production machine. So that one is a desktop, but it's a gaming desktop, but it really is a production, live streaming video production machine. And then everything else, I do about 90% of my stuff on the MacBook Pro 14. So, and then I dock this and use it as a desktop. And Michael says, what does the dock really provide that a USB? No, absolutely. Cable management, but yeah, some of these inexpensive hubs give you a lot. It's funny you mentioned this. I have this one on my desk right now that I reviewed a little while back. This is from Minix, and in addition to passing through power, it has a 240 gigabyte SSD built in, so you get like extra storage, and your HDMI out. Like it does, you could have this be your desktop dock. It certainly would fit the bill for that. So there's a lot of neat stuff with that. All right. Well, I'm going to start this stress test, and I'm going to probably find a few other games that could be running on it. Yeah, I mean, you will see like most monitors that don't have speakers, and many that do, they almost all have headphone jacks, and they are going to pass through the audio from the HDMI, which I think will sound better than one of those USB sound cards built into the docks. I use Final Cut Pro for video editing. Here's a good question. I will answer this based on, let me answer this question. Yes, and I'll explain what I would use it for. So I'm a weird use case because in my repertoire, I have the MacBook for 90% of what I do. I have my Windows laptop that I use for almost all my Windows stuff now, which is my little Surface Laptop Go. And I bought that specifically because of its lightweight and its portability and its amount of available power. And I like the portability of this one. If it runs all the amateur radio stuff that I need to run, which is mostly 32-bit Intel stuff, this would probably work very well for me because it would give me much better battery life out in the field than that current machine does. So if the 32-bit compatibility is there, I think this might be something that I would use more heavily. But I don't know if I would be in the market for it at its price point. If I was working in corporate IT still, and I had to equip some of the executives with laptops, and if we were, mostly living in the Microsoft 365 environment, I think this would be a great machine for that. And I'll test the battery life over the next 24 hours or so to see how it handles itself. But I think there's some real benefit to this. It looks like the compatibility is getting better too. So I would say, and I'm going to be very careful about my recommendations on this one because I don't think this is something I would recommend to a general consumer, primarily because of the compatibility issues that still remain. But at the same time, Windows 11 looks like they're starting to really knock down a lot of the barriers because this thing ran some games that would not even boot on prior, even on the second generation Snapdragon. Lazy just bought an RTX 3070 for $550, and now I'm playing Mass Effect Legendary. There goes your productivity. Here's another good one. Do I prefer the Switch or the Steam Deck, and why? Well, I will say the Switch is more fun with my family because we have a lot of fun Nintendo family games on it that I play with the kids. So there's that. And I can buy used games for the Switch, which I can't buy for the Steam Deck, right? So there's that as well. And by the way, we learned that this benchmark is actually the ARM version of the benchmarks. This is not running Intel emulation. And it was funny, when I was an IT person, I was using a Mac because it was Intel. I could run both on it. But the battery life on the Macs is great. Yeah, so I think, Nihar, if you're primarily using Office, that's what these things are perfect for that. I will have to see what the Office performance is. I think it might feel, perhaps not quite as zippy as the Intel equivalent, although it's pretty close on the Geekbench benchmark to the i5s from the prior generation. So, you will get a faster experience out of the new X1 Carbon, but the battery life on the X1 Carbon is not going to be anywhere near this one. So if you're willing to give up a little bit of zippiness for your Office 365 work, I think the ARM machines have been there actually. So, but Yeah, I mean, I would just make sure that you can get it from a place that takes returns, because if that one application doesn't work, it's going to be a nightmare, right? And I think the compatibility with Intel on the Mac feels a lot more universal than it does on Windows still, as was evidenced with our Red Dead Redemption test. So, DR Productions is here. Howdy to you. I have not looked at the TS4. I'm assuming that's a dock. I had an issue with CalDigit because they didn't like one of my reviews and they asked that I retract it, even though everything I reported was accurate, and they stopped talking to me after that. So I have a real problem with how they handle themselves. I think they're expecting everyone to give them a glowing review, and when they don't get one, they don't, you know what I mean? So I'm not recommending their products anymore. And Laserdisc says Office on the Mac is a joke. Yeah, they still do Office right. I am running Office 365 on my Mac now. I ended up getting the OneDrive. Yeah, I got the 365 subscription because I'm testing Office on all the laptops that I bring in, and I just needed to have it. So the storage has been helpful. So I may start using OneDrive as my backup location for my Synology NAS. So, all right, I got a jet, folks. It's 5 o'clock. The dinner bell's going to be ringing soon, but I'm going to let this benchmark run. I'm going to play around with more compatibility on this, and then I will be shooting a review. I've got so much stuff in the hopper right now. This might show up next week, but we'll see how I do. My goal is to shoot this late tomorrow afternoon. But it looks pretty cool. I'm actually impressed that I'm seeing movement in two areas: performance and compatibility. And those were my two knocks on these ARM chips before. So I think we're getting there. And you don't have to put the beta on now to run the 64-bit Intel stuff. So I am cautiously optimistic that ARM may finally be getting there. But yeah, and I don't use Office enough on the Mac to compare it to Windows. I'm mostly a Google person now, but I mean, it looks fine to me. Excel is running nicely on my Mac. Here's what's interesting about these Thunderbolt docks. There's no best one because I think they're all made in the same factory, to be honest with you. Because I'm seeing like these docks with different brand names on them that all look and feel the same. This is a known YouTube bug. A known YouTube bug. This happens all the time on YouTube. They are aware of the problem. I have found a bug in YouTube. Believe it or not, I was the guy that found it. And they are working on it. They actually email me every 2 or 3 days and tell me they're still working on it. How about that? I feel so important. If there is a bug to be found, I will be the guy to experience it. So back to the question. My advice on Thunderbolt 3 docks, or now Thunderbolt 4 docks, is to find the dock that has the ports that you want and go from there. The one that I use personally right now is the, let me pull it up. I don't even know if it's available because these things have been so short supplied. Kensington has a Thunderbolt dock hub. Yes. So the one that I'm using right now, and I'll put an Amazon link in the description. I think this is the one. Yes, this is the one I'm using. And I love this dock. And I'll tell you why I'm using it. Where's my thing here? There we go. Okay. Yeah, Mr. 4K here is breaking YouTube. So the link that I just put in, that's an affiliate link, by the way, but that's the Kensington Thunderbolt dock that I'm using. Now, you got to listen to me very carefully on this, okay? Because this dock does not work with everything on Windows unless it is a Thunderbolt 4 Windows laptop, okay? If it's not a Thunderbolt 4 Windows laptop and only a Thunderbolt 3, it's not going to work very well. But what I like about it is that this is using the Thunderbolt hub technology. And what that lets you do is get you plug in one cable and you get 3 Thunderbolt ports. So when I dock this Mac at my desk, Thunderbolt port 1 and 2 both have DisplayPort cables plugged in, and I have those connected to 2 60 Hertz 4K LG monitors. And then the third Thunderbolt port has my 10 gig Thunderbolt Ethernet adapter. So when I plug this computer in with one cable, I get 2 displays out, power going in. I think it's 100 watt power that comes with this thing, 90 watts. 90 watts of power that comes in, 2 monitors out, plus the Thunderbolt, and I still have 2 Thunderbolt ports left over. And so that's why I use this one. If you are not in that mode, let me find the one that I like. Yeah, here it is. The Kensington one, in full disclosure, came to me free of charge from the company, but I bought this one. And this next one I'm linking to on Thunderbolt, this one is from Pluggable, and it's got more ports than you'll ever know what to do with. I actually have the Kensington version of this one, which I don't think is available anymore, bolted to my desk here, which is what I plug into. And what's nice about this Pluggable one is, in addition to all the ports that it has, it also works with USB Type-C computers, and it works with Thunderbolt computers. It does not have a Thunderbolt pass-through port on it. Some of them do. But beyond that, I think it's a great dock. You get a lot of USB ports. You only have 2 display outputs, but you can choose, like, it has 2 HDMIs and 2 display ports. So like whatever you plug in is going to work. So I like that one quite a bit. So those are what I use. All right, let me see. Got a couple more questions here. Jared said something here. Oh yeah, so right, there's a free Office Online, but they certainly don't want you using that. They want you to pay for the 365. And some of these laptops come with like a year of 365. That's what happened to me. I had a free year of it, and then when it expired, I was like, oh, I need to keep going because I got to use... Here's a pro tip. You could buy one of those like $200 Windows laptops, and so the cost of the laptop is like about what you would pay for Office, and you get a computer out of the deal. So there you go. All right, I got to run, but I will be back before you know it. Going to take the dog for a walk and get some dinner, and then I'm going to go catch up with the family. And yeah, I think we're in good shape here. So I'm going to let this stress test run and see where it ends up. It looks like it's running at a lower frame rate now, so it might be throttling. We'll see what kind of score we get when this is over with. But this is not the kind of machine that's designed for this. Even though it runs it, it's you know, it's going to throttle. There's no fan in there. All right. Thank you all, as always, for spending some time with me this afternoon. And I will be back with more live streams very soon. And I want to thank Ali Varfan for your super chat. Yeah, I would say warm and not hot. And if it was on your lap, it would be a little hot. But there's no like vents on this thing. It's all just passively cooled. So there you go. But it looks like we're getting a little better on compatibility here on ARM. ARM is starting to feel a little better to me. We'll see if it holds up over the next 24 hours or so as I keep playing around with this machine. All right. Well, have a good evening, everybody, and I will catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.